Okay, why don't we go ahead and check your homework?
Okay.
So I asked you to do page 122, right? Just activity 5.
Number 1. The captain wouldn't have hit the iceberg if he'd seen it.
Good. Okay, number 2.
The Titanic wouldn't have sunk if the metal had been stronger.
Good. And number 3.
Mr. Morgan would have gone if his company hadn't organized a meeting.
Perfect. And number 4.
More people would have lived if there had been more lifeboats on board. Well, maybe.
Great. Hopefully, yeah. Okay, so what all of these sentences about the Titanic are examples of what have we been studying?
Third conditional.
Conditional, our favorite subject. So let's do some examples of the conditional. So we're talking about the third conditional is different than the second conditional because we're talking about things that happened when.
In the past.
Exactly, right? So things that might have happened in the past. Things that could have been different in the past, but we already know they're not that way because they already happened.
Yes.
Right? So let's think about our weekends. And let's each say something that could have happened over the weekend. A sentence in third conditional about something that didn't happen that way, but that could have happened. So my example is, I would have spent more time outside if it hadn't have rained.
I wouldn't have bought the wrong book if I remembered the title.
Good. No, that's a good one. Did that really happen?
Yes.
Oh,
I bought the wrong book.
Because you didn't remember the title. That's a great example. I wouldn't have bought the wrong book if I had remembered the title. If I remembered the title, good. All right, let's do one more. I wouldn't have gotten my feet wet if I didn't have holes in my boots.
I would have played with my friends if I hadn't forgot where my cell phone is.
Nice, perfect. But I haven't forgotten. So good examples. Let's go ahead and do number 6 from page 122. So this time we just have to complete the sentences, and goes on to the next page also. So can you read number 1?
Okay. There were more than 2,000 people on the Titanic. A lot of people drowned. If there hadn't been so many people on the ship, fewer people would have drowned.
Good. Excellent.
There weren't enough lifeboats on the ship. A lot of people died. If there had been.
So that's actually great. That can be either one. If there were more lifeboats is perfect. If there had been more lifeboats also is fine. Those are both they're both okay because they're both in past tense, right? Just past perfect or past simple can both be used here. You see in the example, they use the perfect here. They say if it hadn't been a warm winter. So we could also practice using the past perfect here.
Okay.
But either one is okay. Sometimes it's just you have 2 choices. But yeah, let's go ahead and use the past perfect since they use it in the example.
If there had been more lifeboats, fewer people would have died.
Good. Excellent. And number 3?
Mr. Morgan had a meeting. He didn't go on the journey. If Mr. Morgan hadn't had a meeting, he would have gone on the journey.
Perfect. So for number 4.
The ship sailed into an ice field. It hit an iceberg. If the ship didn't sail into an ice field, it wouldn't hit an iceberg.
Nice. And here it'd say it wouldn't have hit an iceberg.
Oh.
Okay, well, last one, number 5.
The water was very cold. Many people froze to death. If the water hadn't been very cold, fewer people would have froze to death.
Would have frozen to death. Like the movie Frozen.
Ah, I see.
It's our password. Excellent. So we're going to continue talking about this light and cheery topic of the Titanic with this passage. What is the title of the passage?
The day everything went wrong. Ugh.
Okay, everything went wrong. So if you think you've had a bad day, this is a really bad day. So
Yeah.
can you read this out loud?
Okay. Do I have to? It might sound like a funeral.
I know, it's going to be sad. Don't cry. Maybe
Okay.
afterward we'll talk about something happier.
Okay.
Ready?
The day everything went wrong. It was a warm winter, so icebergs floated into the Atlantic. There was a fire in the boiler room. The heat from the fire made the ship weak. The lifeboat practice was cancelled. So many sailors that didn't know how the lifeboats worked. The sailors didn't fill the lifeboats. Some left half empty. A lot of people drowned. There weren't enough lifeboats for all the passengers. The captain received lots of warnings about the icebergs, but he didn't receive the most important warning. His ship hit the iceberg. The Titanic didn't slow down when it got to the ice field. It crashed into the iceberg. A ship called the Californian didn't hear the Titanic's call for help because its radio was switched off. Another ship called Carpathia heard the calls for help. Unfortunately, it was a slow ship, so it arrived an hour and 20 minutes after the Titanic had sunk.
Oh my goodness, such a happy story. So a lot of things went wrong, right? So we're going to do a little writing practice. So I want you to write, let's do 5 sentences with third conditional about this information. So
Okay.
we're going to say things that would have happened differently if something different had happened. So we can use any of these. So I'll do an example. So I might say, if the lifeboat practice hadn't been canceled, many sailors would know how to work the lifeboats. Okay, so let's do. Why don't you go ahead and write down 3 of them, so you can write them.
Okay, that's
And
good.
you can choose any of this information.
Okay, I'm finished.
Okay, you got them. All right, can you read me your sentences? Let's start with the first one.
Okay. If there hadn't been a fire in the boiler room, the ship wouldn't have been weak.
Okay, perfect, nice. And second one.
If the Titanic had slowed down, it wouldn't have hit the iceberg.
All right, and last one.
If the Californian radio hadn't been switched off, it would have heard the Titanic.
Excellent. All right, so good sentences. Now we're going to play a game, and we're going to use the same format, but we're going to go off of each other's sentences. So, for example, I'm going to say something in the third conditional. Maybe I'll say, like, for example, let's see, if my dog hadn't run away, I wouldn't have had to chase him. Then you're going to make another sentence starting with my second half. You're going to say, if I didn't have to chase my dog, I wouldn't have fallen in the mud. And I would say, if I hadn't have fallen in the mud, I wouldn't be dirty. We're going to go off of each other's sentences, switching back and forth. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right, why don't you go first?
If I remember the title of the book, I wouldn't have bought the wrong book.
If I didn't buy the wrong book, I would have finished reading it by now.
If I finished reading the book, the teacher wouldn't have scolded me.
Okay, good. If the teacher didn't scold me, I would feel happier.
If I had feel happier, what should I say?
Okay, but how do we do the past particle of feel?
Felt?
Yeah, very good. So you could say, if I felt happier, or if I had felt happier. Either one is okay.
If I had felt happier, I wouldn't have been gloomy.
If I wasn't gloomy, I would have played with my friends.
If I played with my friends, I would have felt gloomy again.
Okay. If I had felt gloomy again, or if I didn't feel gloomy again, I would have helped my mother make dinner.
If I helped my mother make dinner, my mother would have been happy, maybe.
If my mother had been happy, she would have given me a special treat.
If she gave me a special treat, I would have eaten it.
Good. Okay, so we have a whole chain here. And it started with getting the wrong book. And what did it end with? Eating a special treat. Of all things that could have been different if only we'd remembered the book. So this is kind of what I want you to do for homework. I want you to write me 2 separate paragraphs. Right? They can be short paragraphs, but one, you're going to write about something that happened. It can be invented. You can use your imagination. Or you can tell me something that really happened one day. So you're just going to say, like, one day I went to the park, and it can be bad, like bad things that happened, or it can be good things that happened. But then you're going to write the next one if it had been different.
Okay.
Okay, so if I had done this, then it would have been like this. So we're going to see how the day would have been different if you had made some change. Okay?
Okay.
So the first one will just be in the past tense, and the second one will be using conditional.
Okay. I think I'm gonna write about happy things because I had enough of this Titanic problem.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we've done a lot of depressing activities in the book lately. This chapter has been very upsetting. So what do you have to do for homework?
I have to write 2 paragraphs, one in past simple and other in changing the events with third condition.
Okay. All right. Awesome, Stella. Thank you. I'll see you on Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.